really pleased to speak specifically to mainstreaming virtual simulation for medical education. Thank you for checking the audio. So I'm going to be looking at this through the lens of the Neonatal Education and Simulation-Based Training Program, which I direct at the University of Washington. Now, the mission of our program is to improve newborn outcomes through technology-enhanced training and simulation research. And we're also seeking to provide global leadership in neonatal education, simulation-based training, and scholarship. Now, we primarily take care of newborns, but I believe a lot of the lessons that we've learned can be applied to medical education across the spectrum. So our aims illustrate the role that we see technology playing in meeting these goals. This is not a complete list of the aims of the NEST program, but I decided to highlight the aims that specifically speak to the use of emerging technologies and investigative methods that apply these technologies to the acquisition of technical and behavioral skills. So on a typical day, my day-to-day activities involve simulation-based training in resuscitation and procedural skills, team training, and telehealth. Our group also works in disaster simulations and national training for doctors who are preparing to become specialists in newborn intensive care. Our VR and AR lab is fully equipped with a range of VR and AR headsets, and here are some UW faculty experiencing virtual and augmented reality during a training session. And I think they seem to be having a pretty good time. We've also had the opportunity to explore interest and usability of VR in low and middle income countries like Nigeria and West Africa and Kenya in East Africa. And just specifically speaking to the potential for open simulator in settings with low and middle income resources, I believe that there is a significant opportunity there. A lot of the technology that has followed on virtual worlds tends to be pretty high resource and also require a fair amount of bandwidth and quite large programs to be downloaded. So but despite that, we've been able to use this technology, so there's absolutely no reason why Open Simulator could not be used, Sim on a Stick or any of those downloadable options that could then run on the laptop without the need for ongoing internet access. So casting my mind back, and many of you have experienced some of these activities from dating back to when I began to explore virtual worlds in 2011. The use of virtual worlds for public health training and SPH places, global health training and Africa Traveler, environments that are still being used today actually in Indiana University. So really want to acknowledge pioneers and initial early users of these environments. Everything that I have done since has been built on these concepts, and just to go back to the real use case of Open Simulator for me, it has been in prototyping. So I think if we are going to talk about how to sell Open Simulator or how to encourage new educators to use Open Simulator, it's got to be in the successful applications of activities in Open Simulator as well as activities that have been prototyped out of Open Simulator. Thank you, Barbara. So Most of my work now is in research on using virtual simulation for medical education. And my most recent project, EHBB, is a mobile virtual reality application for newborn resuscitation training in healthcare providers in low and middle income countries. And this has been sponsored by the Gates Foundation. I'm also working on the evaluation of eSIM, which is a virtual simulation. It's screen-based for neonatal resuscitation, and that is being used around the country for all healthcare providers that provide neonatal resuscitation. I did not develop this simulation. I am only evaluating it in a multi-site study, but it's a very exciting project, which is sponsored by the American Academy of Pediatrics. So we are also developing locally at the University of Washington serious games for teamwork training and prenatal counseling using virtual patients. So the images shot here are actually shot with a 360 camera and edited to include avatars. So just attempting in multiple different ways to find solutions that are widely disseminable. And I think that process of finding ways to integrate with existing systems, existing learning management tools is going to be essential for the next steps for OpenSIM. So sessions like these are conducted in a newborn intensive care unit and obstetric unit, which also features a virtual physician area and a conference room. Mind you, these are all built off of prototypes that I used in early days with OpenSIM. And we tested these extensively with students before converting to Unity. So the other area that our group works in is in disaster training. So as you may be aware, and it's on the news nearly every day now, hospital evacuations due to disasters like fire, flood, and earthquakes are becoming much more prevalent around the world. So using 360-degree photos, we developed a virtual evacuation simulator for emergency department and newborn intensive care unit nurses to help increase their efficiency of evacuating critically ill patients. So last but not least, this I think is the area I am very excited about the potential for. So I'm involved with developing telehealth programs for newborn care and exploring the potential of virtual reality for doctors viewing patients in remote locations to provide education and care. So as you can see on the left, the current state is using screens like iPads or personal computers. However, in the future, I believe VR and AR headsets could serve as a more immersive option for telemedicine. And the process of training individuals to use these options could certainly involve virtual worlds. So I could not do all this work alone. I'd like to acknowledge my NEST faculty colleagues at the University of Washington. We're a very close-knit group, and we support each other on all these projects. And I believe a major factor in research success is the research group that you belong to. Even outside of academics, you need to find a group of like-minded individuals who will work with you to achieve your goals. And so the second key that I'm going to give to mainstreaming virtual world learning is through publications and presentations at national and international conferences. So if you're working in virtual worlds or other virtual media, look out for those appropriate use cases and find proof that virtual learning works. I think that's something, at least in the medical field, that we have encountered, and I encountered that very early, and quite often people want proof, they want evidence. And so without doing the scholarly work to prove that virtual environments or virtual training is at least comparable, if not superior, in certain use cases, people are not going to use it. I'm really pleased to see a lot more in the way of research being done in virtual reality and virtual worlds. I think needs to kind of follow along with that too. So with this proof comes additional funding. So the third factor, I believe, in successful mainstreaming is the fact that funding support is critical. So the NES program receives a fair amount of support from internal and external funders, and much of this goes to support the projects that I've highlighted so far. So finding funding is not easy. You have to be determined and intentional about finding it for your project, and I'll be speaking more on this subject during the OSCC conference next weekend. So for now, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to take any questions now or by email later. I will be rounding this morning, but I will do my best to come back for the follow-up session, question and answer and discussion. Thank you.